When opportunity and change have a chance to intersect, to instrumentally impact your life in a positive way, will you be open and willing to embrace the life transformation? For Claire Bartholic, that transformational moment occurred in her mid-30s. You see, she wasn't always a runner, but for her high school reunion, she wanted to get into better shape and stumbled upon an undiscovered passion and love for running. And now she's become a student of the marathon, and she's inspired now to help others reach their running goals. As a coach, she's helped hundreds of athletes to reach their best performance of their lives through science-based training, nutrition, and mindset programs. She's also the host of one of the first and most popular running podcasts, The Run to the Top. With over 6 million downloads, thousands of runners listen to Claire every week, interview the best in the sport, while also picking up actionable lessons and tips to make them a better runner every episode. She joined me this week to discuss her passion for running and how she hopes she's making inroads in the space to get us all excited about running. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Hey, Claire, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to be with you today to learn all about your journey in the realm of running and fitness. So great to be with you this afternoon, and thank you so very much for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Now, Claire, you tell me that you weren't naturally a runner and you started running in your mid-30s to get ready for a high school reunion, but you kind of fell in love with the process and the prospect of being a runner. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about it.
Well, sure. I actually ran a little bit as a kid. I was on the track team in high school for exactly one meet where I came in last, and so I quit right after that. I ran one more little stint in my 20s. I was getting over a breakup, so I trained for a half marathon, and that went okay. But I ended up getting back together with the guy, ended up marrying him actually, and stopped running. And it just kind of fell away. But then in my late 30s, my high school reunion was coming up, and I decided, well, I would love to get into better shape. And so I decided to run. And that first year, I hated every second of it. I really did not enjoy running. I was just doing it to, lose weight for a lot of external vain reasons. I was running, and it wasn't really until later after the reunion came and went, I just kept on running. I somehow just gradually started to like it. And then I decided to train for the same half marathon that I ran in my 20s and ended up doing a little bit better. And then after that point, I was probably hooked. I heard about a friend of mine who was running a marathon, and it wasn't just any marathon. She was running Boston. And I said, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And I learned quickly that you can't just go run the Boston Marathon. You need to first run a qualifying marathon in a certain time. And if I could do that, then I could go to Boston. And I didn't actually qualify for Boston my very first time, but I did it on my second. And the journey really began there.
And you tell me, I'm sure that that story where you got back together with your husband was top of mind at your wedding, huh?
It was. Well, I ended up divorcing him. So, so that part of the story didn't turn out so good, but no, he's still a great person and he's in my life and we have the best divorce ever, but no, it was not something we brought up at the wedding.
Well, it comes full circle one way or the other, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true.
So, Claire, tell me about being a student of the marathon. You tell me it's really transformed your life. I'm curious if you could tell me more.
Yeah. So after that first one, I decided to really get into figuring out how to get faster, how to qualify for Boston. So I read everything online that I could. I studied as much as possible, really got into it. Ended up doing another marathon after Boston. That was actually Chicago. And just slowly started getting better and better. I hired a coach, and that was incredibly helpful. And then eventually that coaching company called Runners Connect, they ended up hiring me as a coach. So I was an athlete and a coach at the same time, still training to run faster marathons. And eventually I ended up running a 2:58 marathon at the age of 42.
Wow, well, that's certainly a tremendous accomplishment. So I want to commend you for coming with the strength and fortitude to do that. And tell me about being an older runner and sort of the challenges and inspiration that's given to you being someone older trying to pursue or stay committed to this craft.
Well, because I started later in life, I wasn't burned out. I hadn't, I don't have all these times when I was younger that I'm trying to beat. So actually being an older runner is a blessing because had when I was running competitively, which I'm not so much anymore, but I really just got better and better and better. And it was lots and lots of fun. And, it was really neat to see what I could do. As I mentioned, my marriage wasn't going so well at the time. And so running gave me a sense of escape. It gave me a sense of success. It gave me a sense of that I could really accomplish something important if I set my mind to it. So, I wasn't trying to be an Olympian or make a career out of it, but I just really felt like it gave me so much, so much sense of achievement, which is great. And now, obviously, I have made it my career, so so it has really come full circle, I guess.
Yeah, and tell me about plant-based nutrition because I know that's really important to you.
Yeah, so I actually went plant-based before I started getting back into running. So I, had just watched a documentary and I was already pretty much vegetarian at the time. And, it just really sort of cemented it in my mind that that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it for health reasons. And now, that I've been doing it so long, I guess it's been almost 10 years now. I love all the other benefits, environmental and the animals and all that. But the original reason I did it was for my own personal health. And then I started running after that. So it is pretty unusual that I went so far so fast and got no injuries, trained really well. I can't say it's 100% the plant-based diet. I definitely followed solid training plans and, got all my strength training in and all of that. So there were other factors involved, so I can't just separate it out, but I truly believe that plants, whether you're 100% plant-based or partially, I think more plants in your life is a good thing for everybody.
Absolutely. And Claire, I'm also wondering your thoughts on the sense of empowerment that running has given you from a personal perspective.
Sure. Yeah. So, the neat thing about running is for the most part, you get out of it what you put into it. Now, of course, there's certainly caveats to that. It's not 100% linear like that. But if you decide that you want to improve your running, whether that's speed or distance or both, if you dedicate yourself to it and you're consistent, you absolutely can do that. You don't need a bunch of equipment. You need a pair of running shoes, you need some running clothes, but really that's all. And you can just go out and with consistent effort, you can become a better runner. So it's really beautiful like that. It's not, something that has a huge learning curve, like, I don't know, whitewater kayaking or something like that, or rock climbing, or something that really takes a lot to get into. Anybody can start, and you can start walking. You don't have to, even if you can't run a mile, you can start by, running a minute and then walking a minute, or, there's lots of ways to get started. And, with running, it's really easy to see your progress. So if time is, and speed is your thing, you go run a mile, and then next week, see if you can run it faster. You get a black and white answer right away. Or if distance is your thing, you want to run farther. So maybe you run a mile this week, maybe you run a mile and a half next week. Maybe in 3 weeks, you're up to 2 miles, 3 miles, something like that. So that's the beauty of running, is that it's very simple, which doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy, but it is simple, and the results are really clear. So that's what really attracts me to it.
Yeah, and I know from your experience, you've obviously qualified for the Boston Marathon a bunch of times. You're a master marathon champion and a competitive master athlete. So I'm also curious to ask you about the mindset and the adrenaline rush you get from preparing and competing in all these events.
Well, I think those are two probably different topics. I don't think that adrenaline, like running, is so much of an adrenaline sport. Yes, there's adrenaline when you're on the starting line. You get excited, you want to do well. There's certainly adrenaline involved, but it's not like, I don't know, motorcycles or mountain biking downhill, where it's, a big white knuckle rush. There's not a huge rush in running. It's more like a sustained adrenaline flow, which is nice if you can get into it. But the mindset to be a good runner or a champion marathoner is, you really have to, it's kind of the opposite of the adrenaline rush. You have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's hard. It lasts a long time. And in order to run fast for a long time, you have to be comfortable being in a certain amount of discomfort. So it's really more of a kind of a Zen mindset versus an adrenaline junkie mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that perspective. It's most appreciated. And I know that you host a podcast called Run to the Top, where you interview other runners into the field. And I know that it's been wildly successful. So tell me all about the podcast.
Yeah, so the Run to the Top is actually a podcast that I host. It's owned by the coaching company that I collaborate with. They're called Runners Connect. And so I'm the host and the producer. And so, yes, I interview experts, athletes, scientists, researchers once a week. And then we have a second episode a week, which is more of a coaching type of podcast, where I will break down one running related issue and talk to the microphone all about that. So if you really want to geek out, or you really want to become a better runner, I think both of those episodes are really complementary to each other. So you can learn a lot from the guests that I interview, but then you can also become a better runner directly from some real coaching advice. So it's been a really successful podcast. We are continuing to grow the podcast. Of course, it's one of the oldest running related podcasts. We've been around since I think it's 2011 or 12. So I am not the first host. I'm not the original host, but I've taken over the past couple of years, and hope to do so in the future. So it's called The Run to the Top. And if you're interested in running at all, it is all about making you a better runner each and every episode.
Well, fantastic. I'm always interested in uh, growing my knowledge base, so I'll have to check it out for sure.
Thanks. Yeah.
So I want to. Running a marathon in under 3 hours is something that only 4% of all marathon runners, both male and female, have accomplished. And Bartholic not only did it, but she accomplished the feat at the age of 42, thanks to a plant-based diet and no injuries. And she took some time to detail how she got it done.
But out of those marathoners, only 4% have run a sub 3. So basically, to get that sub 3, I was obsessed. I made it pretty much my job. I chipped at it. My first marathon was 4:02. Then I got a 4:36, then a 4:26, I'm going the wrong direction. Sorry, 3:46, and then 3:36, 3:11. And then my second to last marathon was actually 3 hours and 29 seconds. So I was so close to breaking it that I really would stop at nothing to get it broken. Almost nothing. No, I certainly ran fair and square, but I really just was, I just absolutely knew I was close, and I wanted that accomplishment so badly. It was my Mount Everest. So it was what I really wanted to be able to say, yes, I did this, and now I can do something else. So I still run nearly every day, but I find most of my joy coaching now. And so I coach other athletes at theplantedrunner.com. And that is where I do one-on-one coaching with people of all ages, all speeds. You don't have to be plant-based to work with me, but that is, helping my athletes run faster and hit their dream goals is now much more important to me than really what those goals were ever for myself.
Yeah, it's always important to pay it forward, and when it comes with following a passion, it's a win-win for everybody, isn't it?
And that's right. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And Claire, my final question for you this afternoon is, I'm wondering if you've given any thought to how you want your personal or professional legacy to be defined.
That's a really interesting question, because I don't really think about a legacy or what happens when I'm gone. But what I do really hope is that I make a positive difference in people's lives. I spend a lot of my time podcasting, and that can be a very one-way conversation. You really don't always know how the listener is receiving it, but I do get feedbacks and emails from people. And when somebody writes to me and says, I listened to your podcast, it was super helpful, you really inspired me, or your guest was super interesting, or I listened to you on my long run and you helped make that long run better. Those are the kind of things that just give me immeasurable joy. So if I can help somebody shift their perspective on running or mindset or even nutrition, that is what makes it all worth it to me.
Absolutely. And Claire, I do apologize. I have one follow-up
Oh,
for you.
sure.
Uh, Claire, I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. It simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally, and I find for myself just walking and getting some sort of physical exercise is important. So my question for you is along the lines of inclusion, and how important you think it is for folks with disabilities and just folks in general to become physically active and trying to find sort of their own passion for exercise?
What a great question. Yes, of course. I mean, exercise is good for every human on the planet. That is undisputable. Exercise is not just good physically for your muscles and bones and heart and all of that. It's absolutely important mentally. You know, when you sweat and you get your heart rate up, there is a clearing in your brain that happens that, you know, you just end up feeling better. So, you know, while my primary sport is running, that's not what it needs to be for everyone. If you don't like running or you can't run or running's just not for you for whatever reason, there is something else out there that can get your heart rate up and get your passions energized. You know, there's always something that you can do to break a sweat and, you know, lift up some heavy things. Maybe you're not a runner, but maybe you like to see your muscles grow big and strong by strength training or whatever it is. Maybe you're a biker. It doesn't really matter. The point is moving. Number one is incredibly important to us as human beings. But also I like the part of your question about passion, you know, finding your passion, doing something that brings you accomplishment, joy, satisfaction, whatever it is. But if there is something that you can't stop thinking about, you can't stop Google searching, you can't stop reading about on your own, and you're not getting paid for it, that's probably your passion. So you need to dive into that and see, you know, you need to spend more time doing those things. So, you know, we're only here a short period of time. So, you know, you got to make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And just finally, Claire, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can accomplish that goal?
Well, I am on Instagram. That's the pretty much the only social media that I really hang out on. So my handle on Instagram is The Planted Runner. My website is theplantedrunner.com, and I post lots of blogs about running, nutrition, and mindset. So if you're interested in any of those things, and if you are a runner and you want to know, I have a freebie for all your runners. If they are interested in how to fuel your runs, so before, during, and after a run, you can check out my free download. It's at theplantedrunner.com/join. That's JOIN. Theplantedrunner.com/join. Say it again. So you can go there. You'll get a free download of, I think it's like 8 pages of really clear explanations of how you should fuel each and every one of your runs.
Fantastic. Well, Claire, I want to thank you for sharing part of your story with me this afternoon. And I really enjoyed our time together. And I want to thank you for your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf. It's most appreciated.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for the work that you do. And it was really great to talk to you.